after we've had a look at through CMS Hub, I'm going to go through some of our tips for making sure that your website's working well in CMS Hub. And then we're just going to look at some of the things that are new in HubSpot since we last had a hug 2 months ago. Alrighty, so I'll just share my slideshow. Here we go. All right, slideshow's coming through loud and clear. Now, before we start talking about the features of HubSpot CMS, what it is and what it does, I know that there's a couple of people on the call today that are already using HubSpot CMS, so I've got a bit of an idea. But when we talk about HubSpot CMS, I really want to just think a bit differently about a CMS, because when we talk to people, the constant discussion is that, well, HubSpot's got a CMS. How does it compare against WordPress, or how does it compare against Squarespace or something like that? But there's a really unique aspect of HubSpot CMS that we need to look at first, and that is this idea of a website that's powered by your CRM. So HubSpot talk about CRM-driven marketing, but what we're actually doing here is we're using data that we know on people to be able to personalize the experience on the website. So the way that your website works for visitors might be completely different depending on who that person is, what interactions they've had with you or your business, and what they might need. So somebody who we know is already a customer of ours and they're already using us for a particular service, we don't need to have that service front and center for them on the website. We can use personalization to be able to change what they see on the page. And of course, we can use that personalization to do like more mundane things like "Hello, Ben" on the page, but people get a bit creeped out about that kind of thing. So there's a weird sort of tipping point with personalization where people find particularly overt personalization, like putting somebody's name in or putting their company name in, as being a bit creepy. But if the personalization is done in a tactful way where it helps them find what they're looking for, you get people are much more responsive and respectful of that. So imagine all of the information that you're collecting in your CRM on what all of these prospects are doing, and imagine what you can do to personalize the website. Rafi has just joined us all the way from the Philippines. I know that Rafi's from the Philippines. I can show him completely different information on the page compared to Tim, who unfortunately lives in Sydney. And because he lives in Sydney, we might put a picture of Buddy Franklin leaving for Brisbane on the homepage, because of course everybody in Sydney is an AFL fan and they really care about that. But we can provide a more sophisticated experience to people based on what we know about them, and we know so much more about them because we've got this CRM sitting in the background than we do if we're using something like WordPress and we're personalizing things based on where we think the user might be or who we think the user might be. We've just got a lot more information. And Tim has just confirmed that he does not care about the AFL one bit. So that's great. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is actually not about the amazing companies that use CMS Hub. There are a lot of amazing companies that use it. But why I've included this slide that our friends at HubSpot kindly provided us is I find that constantly we're talking to people about HubSpot CMS, and particularly those people who've used something like WordPress for a long time. They just go, we can't build this in HubSpot. Okay, cool. Have you tried? No. So all of a sudden you've got these people that are like, well, we can't build this in HubSpot. We can't build this in HubSpot. But if you visit the inspire.hubspot.com link that's on this particular slide, there are so many amazing experiences that are being built on HubSpot CMS. People are building whatever they can imagine. There are a lot of HubSpot partners building things like partner portals and learning management systems right in the HubSpot CMS. And because it's all baked right into the CMS, we then have the information about the content that people are accessing on the contact record in HubSpot. So we know what page they visited, when they visited, what they've interacted with on the site, how they managed it, what they did. And then imagine what you can do with that information from a marketing perspective. You know, you've got prospects there that aren't just, you're not just looking at the pages they visited, but what they clicked on and what they interacted with, that you can then feed that information across to sales. You know that particular lead is now ready to buy. And it's a matter of sales talking to them and making sure that they're on board. So there's our background with CMS Hub, and that's what I feel like is one of the big opportunities here with CMS Hub. Making use of the CRM and having a look at the Inspire platform to see what you can build and what other people are building on as a bit of inspiration. So now, since there are no questions, let's start with looking at what is in each of the CMS Hub tiers. So let's start with Starter. You, of course, get your full CRM if you're on Starter, access to support, forms and pop-ups. I guess one of the good things when we look at what's included on a Starter basis is basically everything you need to build a website. The blog import is very good. We've recently imported some blogs from WordPress. That works quite well. But I guess coming from platforms like WordPress, things like multi-language content are baked into CMS Hub. Things like a global content delivery network are baked in, so you don't have to go and build your own and figure that out. It's all set up. Your drag and drop page editing is taken care of. You don't need to go and buy another plugin to do that. So all of a sudden you're looking at this and going, all right, I've got everything I need to crack on. Great. So then we move to Professional. So you can see with Professional, the additional features are everything from page performance reports onward here. So Professional is more in line with what you would expect if you're a large end of small business through to a large business. The key things for me here are things like content staging. So we can build the whole website on staging, test it, make sure we're happy, and then roll it over to production. We can have password protected pages, so we can start to make sure that we've got sections of the website that might be exclusive to our stockists, our vendors, our partners, things like that. This on Professional is where your dynamic personalization starts to come in. So what I was talking before about personalizing the content based on the type of person, the profile we've got on them, where they are, etc. And then your A/B testing comes in here as well. And again, like the good thing is this is all bundled into the CMS at a basic level. Like it's part of the core. So you're not going to have to go through and find a content staging plugin that you can use or find another server that you can run with. And then we add enterprise, which is everything in our right-hand column there. Now, enterprise, to me, depending on what your requirements are, the big ones are with all of HubSpot's enterprise offerings now. As soon as you buy one enterprise offering, you get custom objects across all of your CRM, all of your HubSpot suite. So adding custom objects can just create an infinite amount of data that you can store in your CRM. Whether that means that you start to store things like ticket purchases or event attendances or learning management courses, a big one at the moment. There's a range for real estate agents, things like properties that are being sold. There's a range of different use cases that are coming out for custom objects all the time. So it's not really a CMS enterprise function, but if you need the other things, it's one of those fun things where we can mix and match between the HubSpot product tiers to make sure you get what you need for your total product mix. Other than that, the big things are memberships. So being able to have people log into the back end of your website, we've used that to create member-only sections of knowledge bases, to create member portals on websites. We're working on some things with reporting for our clients at the moment. We actually also use the membership functionality to provide an onboarding portal where when you start to work with us, you log onto an onboarding portal, you take a learning management course to learn what you need to learn to work here. Everything's all set up for you. Additional root domains are another benefit. So if you are a business that needs multiple domains, it can be useful and worthwhile and cheaper in some cases to go with enterprise. The last two things for me that are the big ones here are adaptive page testing, which uses artificial intelligence to test variations of the page and tell you what's working best, and web applications. So with web applications, HubSpot have given you the ability to literally run just about any code that you can come up with in HubSpot CMS. So really handy. So let's go through the key ones one by one. I'm not getting any questions, so I might just belt through these a little bit faster, I think, so we can get to the cool stuff at the end. So starting with Starter, it gives you the ability to leverage everything that HubSpot have got. It gives you all your hosting, your security that you need, but it's only 25 US a month or 38 Australian a month. So all of a sudden, this is a very cheap, easy entrance into CRM-driven marketing on your website. The themes are a great starting point because, especially if you're playing around with it at the moment, you're not really sure whether it's a good fit for you, you can grab the themes that are free on the HubSpot Marketplace, and then just go through and point and click to set your colors and your branding up. Same with your drag and drop page editing. And if you are one of those businesses that has tried to use HubSpot's website offerings in the past before the drag and drop editor came out, then you might still have some concerns about it. It was pretty awful. But now it's quite a flexible drag and drop experience. And it's the same kind of drag and drop editor across email and web. So once somebody learns it in one, they can carry that across to all the different pages and aspects of HubSpot. So easily create your pages, use the modules that HubSpot have provided, build your own if you're a developer. If you go to our new website, which is on HubSpot CMS Enterprise, you'll be able to see there that everything that you can see is a custom module. And we've built that so that the small amount of work that it takes our developer to build those custom modules means that our team can basically just point and click to put in what they need or to reorder what they need. It's really easy. Local web development, if you are a bit nerdy, then you can write the code yourself on your local computer. And you can also use tools like GitHub so that you can manage version control. So particularly if you've got internal web developers, this is a big win. We use this to make sure that we can version our own code so that we can roll back things if something goes wrong. It's almost essential these days when you're building out a website. Multi-language content. And when we talk about multi-language content, people, because it talks about multiple languages, people think, oh, well, I've got English and I've got German and I've got Italian and whatever else. But think about it in terms of I've got Australian English, US English, and UK English. And if somebody visits your website where they're on US English, then maybe show them your US phone number and your US details. So that allows you to subtly customize the experience for visitors, customize the experience based on what they might be expecting, without having to worry about completely translating the site. And of course, you can test each of your multiple language variations as well. And the CRM sits in the background. So you've got your live chat, you've got your email marketing, so you can manage all your subscriptions through HubSpot CRM as well. There's your lead generation tool. So your forms, your pop-ups, and your live chat, and you can, of course, split test those across each of them. And that's the key stuff that's in the starter plan. So that there, we're talking about $38 a month. And if you are using other HubSpot tools and you're not on the CMS yet, you can see just how much value you can get just moving to CMS and adding that to your existing offerings. It gives you, and I can't really undersell here the streamlined experience you get from having your website in the same platform as your marketing and your sales and your support. Because it's all in one place, it's easier to train your staff because they can go to one place. It's easier for you to see the results. It's easier for us to build reporting. It's a more streamlined experience for everyone. Okay, let's jump up to HubSpot Professional. So we're jumping up here in both capability and cost, because CMS Hub Professional, $400 a month US or $575 Australian. And that might seem like a lot to some of you, but if you look at what you're spending on hosting and plugins and things like that with your current solution, you might actually find it's not as much as you think it might be. So SEO is the first up. Now, these SEO tools, to be perfectly honest with you, aren't like the ones that somebody like us would use. So if you're a SEO master, these SEO optimizations are more of a reminder than anything else. But what they do is just that. They function as a reminder, and that reminder is extremely useful to users that aren't SEO experts. HubSpot will give you recommendations and suggestions on how you can optimize pages on your website. It'll give you prompts that you can effectively use as a quality control checklist before you put a page live. Like, have we added that meta description to the page? Did we remember to put that alt text in? Do we have pages with duplicate content? HubSpot have just prompted me there. So there's all of these tools within the CMS that help you with your SEO without having to leave the tool or spend extra on some of the SEO tools like Moz or Ahrefs or SEMrush. And One of the core things that HubSpot have tried to do here is they've tried to build a marketer-friendly CMS. So we can't assume that every marketer is going to be able to get things like SEO optimization right. So HubSpot have set this up so that a non-technical, non-experienced user can go in there and follow some steps and make page changes and launch new pages. And now we've got smart content. So this is where we start to layer in some of that content around our CRM data. And how you can do this, it's virtually unlimited depending on how imaginative you are. So you can personalize content based on things like, are they an existing customer or are they a new customer? Really, really simple way of being able to track that. You can customize it based on how did somebody get into your website? How many visits has somebody made on your website? If you're using the personas functionality in the CRM, then why don't we personalize it based on the persona? Why don't we personalize it based on the industry? Let's imagine for a second, I know this would be hard for some people on the call to imagine, but let's imagine that we were selling welding equipment to companies that needed welding equipment. So I'm not sure when the last time you checked what was welded in the world, but you'll find that just about anything has been welded. So, but the needs of somebody who's building a ship are going to be very different from somebody who is welding up beams for a building, or welding together pipelines, or putting together truck chassis or vehicle chassis. So if we know what kind of industry they're in, then we can show case studies and examples on our homepage or our landing pages that are most relevant to that particular audience. It does involve making sure that our CRM data is as clean as possible and accurate as possible. But you can imagine how much likely are you going to be to react, respond, and convert on that content if it's specifically about you and what you need, than if it was some generic example that you don't understand or isn't relevant to you. And then you can take that concept and you can extend that across virtually anything. Probably my preferred way of using the smart content is to use active lists. So just think about anything that you can create an active list for, you can create smart content for. Gets a bit more complex than that, but that's probably my starting point. I get excited just talking about it because there's so many things that you can do. All right, password protected content. We talked about this before, and it's simple password protected content. So we have a page, we have a password that everybody's got access to, hello, whatever it might be, and we can restrict access to that page to be behind a password. So nice and simple from a password perspective. We have dynamic content. So again, this is reasonably new, but you can use HubSpot's built-in database, which is called HubDB, or you can build custom objects in the CRM and dynamically create pages based on that content. So some pretty common examples would be things like in real estate, if you had custom objects for properties that you had for sale, then you can use dynamic content to build out those pages in CMS Hub. I've seen people use them for product catalogs. I've seen people use them for events. Again, if you've got custom objects, it's basically as complicated as you want to make it. I will just clarify here, though, that CMS Pro does not give you custom CRM objects. So you would need to have another enterprise product to be able to get those custom objects. Here's a nice little site tree tool so that you can see what your pages are and you can move them around. Content staging is the one I talked about before, where we can push our content from staging to production. And anyone who's in a team business or a business with more than sort of 10 to 15 people will find that they need to be able to see the site on staging before they can push it across to live, particularly if you're doing a major website redevelopment or major relaunch of certain content. So the content staging tool to me is essential for those businesses once they get to a point where there's not one single point of contact that's going to be approving everything. And then with our analytics as well, we have traffic analytics so that we can, just like Google Analytics, except a bit not quite as sophisticated, but we can understand how people are accessing our website and what they're doing. Page performance. I actually prefer the HubSpot page performance tools to some of the ones from Google Analytics, because HubSpot's talking about page performance from a conversion and sales perspective, rather than being this page loads really fast, or this page gets lots of visitors. What we really want to know is not how many visitors that page gets, it's how many of those visitors convert to a customer, or how many of those visitors convert to a lead and then convert to a customer. And then, of course, we can use the CMS to properly attribute each contact to how they got into our CRM. Cool. All right, so now the big daddy, we'll talk about CMS Hub Enterprise. Just out of interest, is there anyone on the call that's actually on CMS Enterprise or looking at CMS Enterprise? If there is, just drop that into the chat. So CMS Enterprise are where things get a lot more serious. So it starts at $17.30 a month Australian. And so it's really for bigger businesses. If you're trying to weigh up whether you should use CMS Starter or Enterprise, the answer is almost always Starter, because you just wouldn't use the two of them in the same conversation. When it comes to CMS Enterprise, we're talking about websites that are more than just a brochure. They're an experience for the customer. They're doing things to support the customer. The entire website is set up in a way where we can manage it as a larger team. And then you've got some abilities there to add additional domain names and add additional microsites, really get in and understand the performance of each. So let's start with memberships. So memberships is a function that used to be part of Marketing Enterprise. So if you're grandfathered in on an old Marketing Enterprise plan, you might still have this one. But you can create membership-based content using lists in HubSpot, essentially, so that you can let people have separate access to separate parts of your website. And that can be extended over to your knowledge base if you're using Service Hub Pro and above as well. And those HubSpot lists, they can be active lists as well. So if somebody takes a certain action on the website, we can have them automatically added to an active list, and then they automatically have a membership so that they can access that particular content. We use this to gate some of so that our customers can access it, but non-customers can't. Each contact gets their own login and password. So you can also then use that for things like learning management, marketing collateral, dealer portals on your website, again, whatever we can come up with. Our imagination can run as wild as we want there. Unfortunately, it's not in Australia yet, but if you are, because some of you are from overseas, if you are in the US or you have a US subsidiary, you might be able to use the new HubSpot payments option or feature. It's not available outside of the US just yet. But if you combine payments and memberships, you can have somebody make a payment through HubSpot and then be added to a membership so they can basically buy access to a piece of content online. All of that happens within HubSpot, nothing outside of HubSpot. And so we don't have to get our head around different plugins and systems and things like that. It's a 5 or 10 minute job to set something up like that. Unfortunately, we understand that there's no timeline on when HubSpot payments will come to Australia, but we're hoping that they might announce something at Inbound, HubSpot's big annual conference, which is coming up in the start of September. Hopefully they'll tell us when that's coming out. With your web apps, you can build code that will then run on HubSpot. Your dynamic calculators, we've built a few of those recently, particularly where you've got products where they need a technical calculation so you can understand the value from the software. Really anything interactive on your website, you can now build it in HubSpot CMS Enterprise, but you will need a developer to make the most out of this. No way around that, unfortunately. But really, this is about giving you the option to build that in and run those, which never used to be an option in the past. So it gives us more flexibility around a CMS. Content partitioning. Again, if you've got a larger business and you have multiple marketing teams, the common example that we find is an organization that has an Australian marketing team, a US marketing team, and a UK marketing team, and they don't want each other's teams being able to change the content or just get confused by the amount of content that's in their CMS. So we can use content partitioning to give people, your staff essentially, access only to the content that they need access to. Some people don't want to gate access, but for other people, if you're an international company that has more than one social profile, it happens all the time where it's like, oh, can we just restrict the UK from this because they'll just muck it up and they'll accidentally post something to the Australian social. All right, great. Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. So we can split that content out by blogs, by social profiles, by landing pages, by website pages, whatever we need to do. One for the developers, in particular, activity logging. So when you've got multiple people working on a site, having a change log of some description is just helpful. The more developers and the more marketing people you have working on the site, the more at some point they're going to trip over each other. So activity logging lets us go back and pinpoint who made the change and what change they made so that we can then roll it back. Reverse proxies. Best way I've got to describe this is it's like magic voodoo that is magic and it is cool and stuff. I think that there's a few of us on the call that have been around long enough that if we wanted to run multiple software platforms, CMS systems, you'd have subdomains. So the most common example would be, when early days of HubSpot, you'd still have your WordPress website because HubSpot didn't have a CMS. But then you'd have blog.refuelcreative.com.au, and that would link to your blog that was on HubSpot. And then you'd have shop. for your Shopify site, you'll have, so everything would be a subdomain of your main domain. And what that did was create an eternal SEO discussion around, should my blog be on my main domain or should it be on a subdomain? And people would debate it forever and go around in circles, and every couple of years a different team seemed to be winning the argument and whatever. With the reverse proxy configuration, you can essentially configure your website so that no matter what platform you're using, it's all going through the one domain. So now I can have refuelcreative.com.au is my website. Refuelcreative.com.au is my website, but then refuelcreative.com.au/shop is my Shopify site, even if my main website's hosted on HubSpot. So this gives us all of the benefits of running one domain and running everything through one domain with the ability to run separate specialized systems in place. And HubSpot, one thing HubSpot CMS doesn't really do yet, and may never do for all we know, is pure e-com or pure e-commerce online sales. So being able to run your site through HubSpot CMS, but then have Shopify available through subdirectories, big win, very useful tool. Multiple domains, if you need multiple domains, you can run multiple domains on CMS Hub without having to worry about redirects. If you're on the lower tiers, you have what's called a brand domain, and that brand domain, you can have as many domains that are tied to that brand domain. So for us, that's Refuel Creative, and then we can have .com, .com.au, .uk, .nz, whatever we want to have through that. But if we wanted to have refuel.com, that would be a separate domain. So on CMS Hub Enterprise, you can have those multiple domains set up. You can have your tracking set up. You can use your content petitioning to petition them. And it's really just designed to support a business that needs multiple domains like that. All right. So, and I've saved the best to last here. So adaptive page testing is one of the coolest testing tools that's come out in a while. So with a A/B split test, which is what's available on the Pro tier, you basically create a copy of your whole web page and you change what you want to do on that page. And then you might have another variation if you want. So maybe you've got an A, a B, and a C version. And whichever tool that you're using to do this, whether you're using HubSpot or something else, they all work the same. They basically test all of page A versus all of page B versus all of page C, and then you find out which page performs the best. Which page has the highest conversion rate, which page has the highest customer rate, whatever the case is. And that's been really good for us for quite some time. But the problem comes in where, what if I change more than one thing on the B version of the page? What if I change more than 3 things on the C version of the page? If the C version is the winner, then which of those 3 things gave me the improved result? I don't know. I know that page C performs better, and I know that that's now the one that I should take on my merry mission to improve my conversion rate. But I don't necessarily know what thing I did that was different that improved things. So when we go to adaptive page testing, what we do is create 5 variations of the pages, and HubSpot mixes and matches the changes that you've made, the variations that you've made to try and come up with the ultimate version of the page. So it might mix and match a few different aspects using some artificial intelligence to pull that together. And then it'll be able to tell you, okay, well, the best version is the one where it's got this part of page A, this part of page B, this part of page C. So it's like A/B testing with a lot more science and a lot more data behind it. So it's pretty incredible what you can do with adaptive page testing. Unfortunately, only available on CMS Hub Enterprise, but again, it's one of those things that was grandfathered into some people who've got Marketing Enterprise. So some of you may have tested it on your landing pages and things like that in the past. Definitely something that you should be using. So let's talk about CMS Hub Free. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it's new. We're talking about websites. And there are a few things that we really like about CMS Hub Free that I really feel like are of value, even if you don't use CMS Hub. Because after I tell you about it, you might go, hey, look, we should give that a go. So with all the features that I've talked about, they're all in all the other tiers. And I'm sure that some of you are thinking, yeah, I really want to try some of these, but I'm never going to get my manager signed off on another website redevelopment, or I really don't like the idea of moving the site across. CMS Hub Free is just a really easy way of being able to test the waters without committing too much. So here's what we love about CMS Hub Free. So first of all, it's free forever. I don't know about you, but I really hate timed trials. So we can try CMS Hub at our own pace from our own desk for free. You get free themes that are included with CMS Hub, or you can download from the marketplace. And they've got drag and drop editors, so you can get a feel for the whole experience for nothing. Even on CMS Hub Free, you can use your own domain name. You can include your own blog. It gives you 25 website pages. So that's probably one of the first limits that we cover here. That sounds bad, but when you think about it, most of you probably got websites with 5 to 10 pages, and that page limit does not include blog posts. It includes multiple language capabilities. So again, out of the box, you get multiple languages in CMS Hub Free. And then it gives you automatic sitemaps. So you need to make sure that you submit those over to Google and Bing. HubSpot will make them for you. So essentially, it gives you most of what you get with CMS Hub Starter, except without the build. So that sounds pretty good. Great way to test things. So there's got to be a catch. There's a small catch, and that catch is the HubSpot branding is on all pages. And here's a sample from a client site that we launched last week. So that tiny little bar down the bottom, on the bottom of all the pages. Just like if you used MailChimp and you're on a free tier, you have that little MailChimp logo down the bottom. Same thing on HubSpot landing pages. If you don't want that on the bottom of your pages, upgrade to Starter or above and remove it. So for $38 a month, you can remove that from your website. But the good thing is you can build out your website, your campaign site, your micro site, your dealer site, whatever you want to build out for free on HubSpot CMS without even thinking about what's going on. All right, so if you're curious about how your website stacks up, I've just put a little plug in here for the Refuel Creative Website Grader. You can go on to the website grader and get an assessment of where your website's at the moment. It's a good guide. It'll give you some starting point things to work on. And then for anything else, you just give us a call or go to your web developer and ask them some questions. Now, I wanted to just touch quickly before we go on to new features, the things that I find are the most overlooked when it comes to HubSpot CMS and performance. And the first one is testing. So you should always be looking to be testing your pages. So if you're on Pro, use your A/B testing. If you're on Enterprise, use your adaptive testing. But on your main highest traffic pages, make sure that you constantly have something in test. Test it, get to the end of the test, see what the performance is, appoint your winner, and create a new variation to just continually get in that testing phase and see what's working best for you. I guess the other thing I mentioned there is I mentioned pages need to have enough traffic. If your pages are getting less than 1,000 visits a month, then something like an A/B test or an adaptive test is just not going to be worthwhile. But your homepage would be getting more traffic than that, so that's definitely a good starting point. Next up is your CTAs, your call to actions. So those are included in CMS Pro and above and in Marketing Pro and above. You can use these CTAs to help you do anything. Again, it's really overlooked because you can enroll people in workflows based on when they click a CTA. You can add people to active lists based on when they click a CTA. You can have CTAs in blog posts, website pages, emails, all kinds of things. So you can use them to filter out your personas, to gather additional information on visitors and prospects so you can create your personas, or determine what kind of business they are, what kind of industry category they are. There's a whole range of different ways that you can use them to profile your visitors and then personalize your website accordingly. So don't use simple buttons just because I'm running out of time to build this page. Make sure you use your CTA so that you can accurately track your visitors and will put that data onto their contact record in HubSpot. The other one here is make good use of the campaigns tool. Another really overlooked tool. You can use the campaigns tool to assign landing pages, website pages, blog posts to a particular campaign. You can create campaigns that are designed to attract certain personas. And then if somebody interacts with something from that campaign, you can change their information on their contact record to mark them as being that persona. And then you can personalize your whole website for them. How cool is that? And if you link your ad accounts and your social media, we start to gather information on what people interact with, click, look at on your website, and better profile them through the whole process. So really get to understand these people as much as possible. Not only that, the campaigns tool is going to help you assess your ROI on every aspect of what you do. And my last one here, which even I nearly overlooked, which is why it's the last one on the page, make sure your pages load fast. HubSpot CMS is going to do everything it can to help you. It's going to be fast servers. It's going to try and optimize your images. But if you're using badly formatted images, if you're putting too much content on a page, your pages aren't going to load fast and nothing's going to work for you. All right. Now, new things in HubSpot. Does anyone have any last CMS questions for today? No. All right, awesome. So if anything else comes up, throw it into the chat and we'll go through it. So what's new in HubSpot? So first of all, and we really like HubSpot Free and Starter. They're really good for startups and growing businesses. So I'm super excited about the fact that we can now do some basic automation on Marketing Hub Starter. So automation for emails and forms. Start to automate event registration, newsletter management, notify sales reps of prospects, nurture leads, all these things which people have always. The step up from Marketing Starter to Marketing Pro is reasonably big cost-wise. So being able to start automating emails and forms on Starter is insane. I've put the links in here for the documentation on the emails and forms. Grab those down and you can go back and look through the documentation on how to do that. Super cool. Responsive ad creation for Google ad campaigns. Now, hopefully everyone on this call, if they're using Google Ads, has their Google ad account linked into their HubSpot, so we can track the performance on in HubSpot. But if you're doing Google Ads, you probably know that Google have got rid of their old extended text ad format, and they now only allow you to create responsive search ads or responsive display ads. So HubSpot have followed suit, and now you can create responsive search ads in HubSpot. Pretty straightforward. Now, with the launch of CMS Hub Free, they've made a change to the CMS Starter page limit. So CMS Starter used to have a limit of 15 pages, and multi-language pages used to be counted multiple times. So if a page was published in 3 languages, it counted as 3 pages. Now it only counts as 1. So not only do we have this higher page limit of 50 pages now, but your multi-language pages only count as 1. So basically we can have as many languages as we want. A nice little bonus from HubSpot for us all. If you are on Pro and above, and you work with more than one person in your team, the comment threads and the highlighting on marketing assets and email are really good. It allows us to just go in there, share it with the team and go, I want this particular thing on the website changed. This thing is, this needs to be moved, and just point exactly where we want that change to be made. Now HubSpot have given us threads and highlighting as part of that. I know it seems like a small change, but it's going to be one of those really nice little usability changes that are going to benefit all of us. Customized quote templates. Now, HubSpot have been working really hard at this and it's getting better all the time. The devil is in the detail with this particular one though, because while you can have people using Starter or free tier using customized templates, you will need somebody with a Marketing Hub Pro access to be able to actually create the custom quote template for you to start with. So you'll need to, which is still fine, because if you've got 5 people with Sales Hub Pro licenses and 10 people with Sales Hub Free, the free people will still be able to change use the templates, but you will need that higher tier to be able to create them in the first place. All right. But these customized quote templates are getting more like semi-custom landing pages with pricing on them, and can't wait to see where HubSpot get to with this. We know that with HubSpot payments in the States, they're doing the whole process now from sign off to capturing the credit card or the ACH payment. And when that comes to Australia, that's going to be awesome. The app's got some love. And if you haven't used the HubSpot app in a while because you thought it was a bit naff, now's a really good time to go back and use it. Like they added the business card scanner in, which somebody I was talking to the other day went to a conference, scanned every business card in on their phone using the business card scanner, added them straight into HubSpot. Now you can attach photos to notes and activities on the iOS version of the app, which again, really useful, particularly if you're going on site and doing quotes. Take some photos of what you need to take, attach it on your phone, and your information is kept up to date in real time. And again, while we're talking about little, nice, usable things, let's have dark mode for everybody. I don't know about you, I'm a huge dark mode fan, and having dark mode on the iOS app makes me happy. I hope it makes you happy too. All right, we have hit time. I've rushed through some of that, but I don't have any questions, so hopefully I've explained everything well. I've got a couple of minutes though, so if anyone's got any other CMS Hub questions or HubSpot questions in general, please throw them into the chat and I'll stick on the call while you're on here and get them answered. Otherwise, thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Hub, where we will debrief on inbound and all the new HubSpot things that they are going to announce with their guest speaker, Barack Obama, which is a bit exciting. All right, no worries. Thank you for that feedback, Ben, Rafi, and Tim. Jump on our website, we can book a call and talk through some integration stuff. I love some integration stuff, so I'd be happy to help you with that. All right, thank you everyone, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great day.